Okay, folks, let's try this again. Session number 2 on Saturday. Kind of a thunderstorm going by, so if we can get some painting done and not lose power, anything stupid like that. All right, so let's continue painting this CUMAN figure that we're working on this morning. And see if we can finish them up today. We don't have a whole lot left to do on them. We have a shield to do. It's going to be pretty much a plain color shield. And the horse and stuff on it. We've got the, I guess it's the container that the arrows go in, and of course we got the neighbors decided to banging on the with a hammer. You'd think the houses were connected, as loud as it is. So if you hear something that sounds like a really annoying woodpecker, well, that's just the pecker next door. All right, let's see. Let's adjust this. There we go. And go back to this screen. Okay. All right, so John Hanna, son enjoyed the car show. Excellent. You're up in New York State, aren't you? Classic cars. Well, now's the time to do that, because now you can get access to all those parts and stuff through Amazon. You know, you could pretty much, if you have a clue, you could order all that stuff yourself. I mean, I'm not scared of that kind of thing now with all the resources that we have on the internet and stuff. I mean, there's a lot of wrong stuff out there, but there's a lot of right stuff too. So I'm sure that there's a whole slew of stuff on how to do this or do that, or I've been trying to go. I've only gone twice, but I'm going to try to go to our meet that we have every month. But there's exotic stuff on there, and then those of us that have more mundane things show up, and said half the people are cool, and the other half are like, you know, they're all like pretentious and shit. So I don't play that game. I'm not into that kind of stuff. But I was talking to a guy at work, and I really wish there was a place that would have a lift you could use, and that way you could do all your oil changes and all that stuff yourself. I think it'd be cool. But the problem with something like that is insurance, or, you know, you'd get people that hog it up that probably are people you don't want to hang out with. But I like that concept. You know, you could go in, say, Wednesdays or whatever day of the week it is. You know, work on your stuff. You know, I don't think I gotta do a color that's a little bit more bright than that. How old's your son? 9, 10, 11, 12? Yeah, we're going to use this orange-brown for the bow case. You can make it kind of bright. It's not a very big thing, so He's 14 next month. There you go. Yeah, there's some classic cars that show up at the... What is a classic car? Before 1980? That's probably what I would... That's where I would draw the line. I mean, obviously it depends on what vehicle it is, but definitely got to be before 1980, I would think. Now, that's a loud motorcycle going by. Lots of people into motorcycles. I don't get it. Never been my thing. It's 2 wheels short and a chassis short. Especially with the way people are driving these days, you need a little bit more protection than that. A little bit more than that. Okay, that's done. Well, hopefully we can get this guy done today, but a lot of that's going to depend on interaction. No pressure, but if I get bored, I'll go find something else to do. Yeah, we needed rain bad. It didn't rain very long, and it came with a bunch of lightning, and I don't really care for that. It's not my idea of a good time. I take it you guys just want to go look at the cars. You don't necessarily have one of them. And I'm only guessing because that's most people. And this is going to be some kind of a neutral type color. He watched Top Gun, the original, tonight, and wants to see the new release, so I advised him to see the first film before going to see the other. Yeah, he likes the history of car development. So when we went to DC several years ago, the coolest museum I thought was the one that was called Museum of American History, I think is what it's called, like that, which would not normally be the thing that I would like the most because I'm not a fan of American history. I think it's a bit boring compared to, everything else. But there was all kinds of neat things in there, and on cars they had, and I didn't have time to look at all the stuff, but they had all the badges of all the car manufacturers they no longer make anymore. Some of them I've never even heard of before. It was pretty cool. That's one of the things that stuck in me. All those, not like the Edsel and Studebaker and stuff like that. I'm talking about stuff I've never even heard of. He likes to see how technology has improved over the last 100 years. Yeah, it's definitely changed a lot. Yeah. Not a fan of those electric cars. Those electric cars come with a lot of other stuff that I don't like either, Self-driving this and, all these kind of things that keep you from being engaged as a driver. These excuses to be distracted, I don't like any of those things. I don't like, the thing I do like is I do like automatic high beams, and my current car does not have that. And that's when you just turn your lights on and you leave them on high beam. And there's a sensor that senses one of those cars coming, and it automatically dims them back into normal. And then when the car goes by, it goes back in a high beam. That's really handy because it saves you a lot of clicking and back and forth. But short of that, Bluetooth air conditioning, that's it. I don't need anything else. I don't even need power windows. I mean, fat chance everything comes with power windows, but it's not that I dislike them. I don't really need them. It's not a necessary thing. I think I'm going to make his scabbard green. And we're going to use this green, but we're not bringing it all the way up. Most of the cars were from all over Europe. A lot of Swedish, Italian, French cars, as well as a few top-range Rolls-Royce. French cars. That just sounds extremely unreliable. We had a Renault station wagon growing up, and nobody could fix the freaking thing. It's a 1981, I want to say 18i wagon. I looked it up the other day. It's like, I've got a coworker at work that just has a thing for wagons. I don't know why, he just does. And I also looked up what makes a wagon, and it's the third set of windows. So if you have on the side, if you have a driver's side window, back window, and that's it. What's where you stop, and it's not a wagon. But if it's got that third set, that's one of the things that, according to this website, made it a wagon. I can't stand them. I grew up with two station wagons and grocery getters, we used to call them. Not interested. Not interested in that. He got to sit in them and was allowed to have a run in some of them as a passenger. Well, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Last car meet that I went to, there was a guy that had a Porsche convertible, just like the one that was in Dock Hollywood. I don't know what one it was, but it was a really good shape. You could tell the guy had it restored and was definitely kept in the garage. Exactly like the one in Dock Hollywood, silver and everything. So. really like the old Wolsey. I'm not sure I know what that is. We'll have to look that up. Sounds like something some pompous English guy would drive it. Take me for a spin in the old Wolsey. They make all kinds of different stuff. Just like I said, I don't care for wagons. I'm sure there's people over there that salivate over them. I don't care for vehicles that have sloppy steering. You know, vehicles you can go and you can do this and the car doesn't move. I'm a big fan of responsive steering. Okay, that part's done. Ah, Mr. Shevlin, welcome back. Been painting 10mm Romans today. Think it could be my ideal scale for DVA. Well, I've seen some 3D printed 10mm. You know, the problem is just variety. I don't want to, and I also don't want to supply armies for both sides. Most modern car there was a DB9 Aston Martin. Alright, I gotta see how old that is. Sounds like an old James Bond car. Although I'm not sure what model of Aston Martin that was. DB9 Aston Martin. Oh, that's pretty modern. That's a pretty modern vehicle. Okay, 2004, something like that. British vehicles. Don't you have to buy two, use one for spare parts? Isn't that how it works? 2004 was the other day. I mean, I know it was like almost 20 years ago, but even 1990 was the other day. Anything I remember really well was like, that was the other day. Yeah, so what does make a car classic? For me, I'd say, you know, before 1980. Because, you know, cars from the 80s, I don't consider them classics. It was, you know, I was a kid during that. I mean, that'd be like considering, you know, 80s music like oldies or something like that. All right, we're getting closer to deciding on what the shield is. Yeah, we got a belt to put in here, and it's got to be some variant of brown. Let's get us some brown out here. Needs to be more variety. Double ranked figures on a standard basis and paint quickly. Use new line 10mm. They're easy to paint. Yeah, I think if you did something like Romans or something like that, it'd be fine. You don't need figure variety then. But if you're doing like medieval knights, yeah. But if you're doing stuff like Romans, I mean, all the infantry can be the same pose as far as I'm concerned. If you're doing Roman legionnaires. Pretty much. I'm not sure it's going to take off, really. There's just a lot of people that have 15mm stuff. I'm curious, I'm curious, and I mentioned this the other day. I really didn't get a response from it, but maybe nobody knew, maybe nobody was paying attention. But 28mm, the reason why there's so many 28mm things now, is that because the older generation can't see 15s, or is it because some of the people have gotten into historical wargaming that are used to Warhammer and that scale? Most of the cars are from the 20s up to the 60s. So modern ones thrown in. You see how much so you can see how much comfortable modern cars are. Yeah. Remember those cars from the 60s and the 50s? They had the seats that were made out of like that plastic that old ladies would throw up on your couch. You'd have a couch and you'd cover it with this like thin plastic sheeting, and that's what the seats would feel like. And when they were hot, man, they'd freaking burn you. It'd stick to your skin and burn you. It wasn't even pleather. It was just plastic. I don't know that I would salivate over any old car, though. But that's not really my thing. I tend to like rice-burning vehicles anyways. That's what we used to call them. $50 million definitely fire a game. So I probably could do solo now, because I can just film everything and just talk about what the decisions are to make, and play with blind general or something to kind of affect the choices that I have to make. But before that, in the past, I wouldn't even bother. There's just not enough going on to keep me entertained. It just isn't. You played Napoleon game 10 mil. It was great gaming divisions visually, but never took off due to most of the club having 15s. Yeah, it's just too late. It's too late for some of us. Maybe for people that are just getting into it, it'd be all right. It's got something that's like on his saddle here, almost like underneath it. I'm gonna paint that up, almost like a, maybe like a pad so you don't, for extra cushioning. Kind of a strange contraption there. See, ACW is great for 10 mils. When I was a kid, one of the first games that they were played at the hobby store was Johnny Red. And one guy was doing most of the heavy lifting. He had most of the troops, and some people came in and brought other ones, but that guy eventually ended up moving out to Louisiana one time, and kind of the local group kind of crumbled. I was just a kid. I was just a 16-year-old kid, you know, during that time, but Johnny Reb. I wonder why the ACW is so popular. I think maybe some people that play it have ancestors on one side or the other, or both. Maybe that's the tie. And I've never been interested in it. It's just it's a time period that's neither here nor there. Small scale played was a World War II Naval. They were 1/600 played in a large hull, each ship being long, riding. So ships were 60 feet away, and that was capital ships. That sounds cool. That's pretty big. 1/600 scales, yeah, you got battleships that are 1.5 feet long. I know, I used to have a Bismarck that was that big. But I don't think there was any waterline models when I was building them. I would have loved that. I think there was one kit that actually had like a line you could like score on it, and then if you wanted to build the waterline version, you just did that. And I don't see much point in having a model of a ship and it's like out of the water with a propeller showing. Never going to be able to war game with that. Awkward. We're going to go light gray with this. Let me stand out a little bit. I want to keep adding buff things to this. And okay, we got the shield and the horse and the mane, and that's pretty much it. See, the horse is fairly dark. We need a pretty light colored shield, I think. Let's see if we can't get something that's... do something like this. Maybe something like this. Let's try that. The frigates and torpedo boats had to get within 10 feet to have any chance of hitting anything. Yeah, that'd be cool. Unfortunately, the floor probably wasn't blue or anything like that. You had to probably imagine that the floor doesn't look like a basketball court when it does. Nah, changed my mind. Let's go. I died a death as the guy had all the ships moved down south for a new job. Yeah, where is he? Yeah, I think that's probably common in a lot of game groups. You got one guy doing all the heavy lifting. Something happens in that guy, either he passes away or moves on, and the group just disbands. I don't understand why somebody can't step up to the plate. You already know everybody's having a good time. You know, you already have a captive audience there. You know, just have somebody else run. Have somebody else run with the group. Yeah, I don't understand that. There's one group in Ohio that was pretty active in DBA when I started playing DBA. And it died, I understand, because the guy that was doing all the heavy lifting, he was he's putting out all the tournaments, he was supplying all the prizes, and he wasn't playing, and he just eventually got burned out. And instead of somebody stepping up to the plate, all I understand is they just kind of everybody kind of went each other's way, and you know, I guess I would imagine it's probably pretty common. I imagine it's pretty common. Well, at least all the thunder freaking stopped. We need rain, but we don't need lightning. So we're going to do this for a few hours, and I think we're going to have a movie night later on. Oh man, now I see there's another arm down here. Damn it, man. Well, we'll come back to that. If I can see it, I can reach it, so. You have Done lots of armies over the years, still most of them, but I have not used any of my 25mm medieval in many, many years. Yeah, Mitch actually, when I first met him, he had some Crusades. He had some Crusades period 25mm figures. And he sold them. He sold them to somebody else that wanted them. Of course, he doesn't paint, so he buys them. He buys them already painted. So, you know, those people that do that are fortunate in that they could buy something and then play with it and then theoretically resell it again and get their money back. In theory. So, whereas those of us that paint, you know, I'm not gonna sell my stuff for what supposedly the going rate is. Got French, English, and Poles, but take more than 2 minutes in. But to take more than 2 armies in cars, heavyweight. Yeah. Figures I bought 20 to 40 years ago cost 10 times more now. Randy Collins, welcome. You coming by on Monday? Let us know. Somebody had a suggestion on one of my other videos to do a littoral game where everybody has a littoral army. We've certainly done them. If I had to start your collection again from the beginning, would it still be 15mm and DBA? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it would. It would be forged in battle figures. Forged in battle figures is probably the direction I would go in. I still love 20mm for my World War II, you know, but 15mm. Well, when I was doing World War II, 15mm, the only people that made 15mm World War II at the time was Old Glory was coming up with those Command Decision inspired sets, and they were doing 15s, and Peter Pig may have already done 15s at that point, but other than that, 15mm scale was basically a pre 20th century scale. You know, there's exceptions to the rule, like minifigs make some World War I stuff in 15mm scale. I like minifigs, but their World War I figures are like they lack enthusiasm. Let's put it that way. They look pretty generic. And I'm going to go see if I can get my hands on some coffee, and I'll be right back. Okay. But one thing I will say, James, if I had to start over doing naval, I wouldn't do 1/2400 scale. I'd do 1/6000. Just because the game scale would match the miniature scale a lot closer. Because of 1/2400 scale, talking about shooting across the gym, the maximum range of some of the battleships is like 83 feet. And that's just, ridiculous, so that's just ridiculous. It's bad enough that some of them shot like 8 feet away, even in the compressed scale. Littoral army is a good idea. Perhaps require one side to conduct a landing. So what we used to do is, everybody is littoral, so you're going to have a waterway. Both sides can do a landing, but the special rule that we put in there is you can't land within a base width of another landing force. Even that's pretty freaking extreme because, if you're that close to the other landing force, then you would have just fought out at sea. But in reality, the littoral landing rules are okay from a play balance perspective. From a historical perspective, they're absolutely stupid. They just don't make any sense whatsoever. So when we've run Littoral Nightmare, is everybody's got to be littoral. And the reason that came up is somebody was suggesting that on one of the videos. And I told him, I said, well, we've done that before. I've ran at least 4 or 5 of them at conventions. And then he pointed out that we didn't have them on video. And I guess we don't have them on video. But do you have a littoral army? But that's zany stuff. There's a battle in one of the battles that we did that is on video, and it's the Sea People versus the Egyptians, New Kingdom Egyptians, and it's crazy. It's just absolutely chaos. Good chaos, like zany stuff comes up in that game, but. Any thoughts on ancient naval war games? There's some great models available. There's a company called, they make paper models. Let me see if I could find it right now. And their stuff looks great. And I think their stuff is like print and play. I haven't looked at it in a long time. Where can I find it? I think the guy's name is Eric Holtz. Eric Holtz paper models. Let's try that. Let's see if I. Yeah, Eric Holtz. Maybe it's not Eric Holtz. It's a guy that makes like gaming mats. Let's try that. I'm pretty sure it's Holtz. It's not Hotz. Gaming mats. Let's do that. I haven't looked at it in a long time. Maybe it's Hotz. That's what it is, Hotz. Eric Hotz. HotzArtwork.com. These people make, okay, if you go to Hotz Artwork, Hotz, H-O-T-Z, artworks.com, you'll see a menu there where there is all kinds of stuff. And including one that happens to be called Roman Seas. And Roman Seas is ancient Roman PDF ships and building models in 1/300 scale. Print and build. Make as many as you want. If you click on that, oh, now it's through War Games Vault. It didn't used to be that way. So yeah, click on that. It takes you to War Games Vault. And here's the one that says Roman Seas Roman Navy set. And click on that. And these are paper models. They're freaking awesome looking. They really are. They are really inspiring. But I will tell you one thing. I am a big fan, or I'm not a big fan. I'm a fan of Rome Total War games. Okay. You know, the computer games as inspiration. And I played the Rome Total War a lot, and it came out at the same time that I was starting with DBA, and at the same time that I was building a Roman army. So it was a nice tie-in with all that stuff. As a matter of fact, the first tournament I ever ran was a Roman Rise of Rome tournament, and that game, Rome Total War, came with a separate CD that had all of the music from the game. So I had brought a little boombox, and I had it playing in, I don't know, there was like 20 soundtracks or something like that, and they're all really, really good. I mean, this is like orchestra quality, you know, no lyrics type of stuff, and I had that playing in the background while we were doing the tournament. But I was a big fan of the Rome Total War game. Got Rome Total War 2 maybe a year ago or something like that, and one of the things that they added is where you can control the ships in the tactical game. So it's not like you just send two fleets and they auto-resolve. You actually can control the ships. And I am no freaking good at it. I've watched videos on it, and it is just not my cup of tea. The ancient naval warfare just is not my cup of tea. I think I would prefer it to, say, Napoleonic sailing ships. Yeah, those ships look really good. They make me want to play. They make me want to play the game. I just haven't found anybody that's really excited about that. Maybe if there was somebody really excited to do, you know, Roman and Carthaginian stuff, or something like that, or the successors fighting each other, and I think it could be neat. Just viewed the Carthaginian fleet. Yeah, I remember seeing those I surf a lot. I saw those a long time ago, and that really struck me as, let's look at the Carthaginian ships, see what they look like. Yeah, pretty cool. Mark Antony. He had a really big ship. Yeah, the one with the multiple towers. Yeah. Honestly, I haven't looked on here. There's probably some useful buildings. Roman building set. And that's the scale. I like 300 scale for buildings for DBA. I like the scale of the buildings to be smaller. It looks better to me. So, yeah. Yeah, check it out. Hey, I surf a lot. You look for something, you let me know. I may have seen it. I love to surf. Because I'll get wild hairs up my ass all the time. And then I'll go like, oh, I wonder what I would do if, I'll read about something and I'll be like, like I'll read a book on Mithridates. And I'm like, ooh, what figures could I use to make the Pontic army? So I'll look around and I'll surf and, okay, I'd use these guys for these and these guys for the other one, this one for the other one. And okay, I'm done. I go back to what I'm working on. It's fun to find stuff on there. Johan, welcome. The Wolfman, welcome. Hey, maybe this is a good time. Oh, we're on the cusp of finishing this cumin up. And realize that there is another hand lurking there that I didn't know. Along with this blue. So I need to make this blue. And I got to remember, must have been a light blue for the pants. So let's mix up some light blue on this guy. There's a little bit of his arm showing there. And it's just tucked underneath that shield. I didn't notice it until today. Not a big deal. It's probably this color since it's still out. Knapsack in the Caribbean is cool. Lots of nationalities. British, Spanish, French, Dutch, Turkish, and pirates as well. The ships are just all the same to me, though. Now, if you want to see something inspiring, I really like it when I find something on the internet that makes me salivate. And I'm talking about like miniatures figures. There's an outfit. There's an outfit called... Well, I need to put this over here to have command of it. There's an outfit called the League of Augsburg. They are a wargaming outfit in the UK. And I believe is I think it's these folks. Let me make sure it is before I do not send you sideways, because this looks a little different than it is. Let's see, events, news, home. Their sailing ship games they have on there. They're absolutely one of the best things I've ever seen on there. Just absolutely one of the best things I've ever seen, wargaming wise, on the internet. Let me find that. A guy sent me a link through Facebook recently. I believe it's on my page. He said, "Hey, check this out," and I already have. These people are freaking awesome. Let's see, and I'll tell you what the website is. And there's some sailing ship stuff. Now, these guys made their own sailing ship rules, and I think they went with 1/2400 scale sailing ships, and they do a lot of like late 1600 stuff. Let's See if I can find this on here. Okay, that's what it is. It's a blogspot site. So their website is called leagueofaugsburg.blogspot.com. So it's a blogspot site, and where's their menu here? Mosaic, flip card, classic. What's classic look like? No. These folks on here do these ships that are on there. Here's a picture of them. And they do these replays that they put like the names of the ships on them and everything. I mean, it's absolutely salivating. It's unbelievable. Yeah, here you go. I don't know how to put this on the screen, so we're going to go old school. And I hope I do this right, because I can't see what I'm doing as I'm doing it. So we can disconnect the power cord here for a second. And I hope to God you guys can see it. But this is their website, League of Augsburg, Blogspot, and look at this stuff. So they have this battle, and these, oh, this is a different one because they've got multiple ships on the same stand, but he's got them on like tongue depressors. And, oh man, I hate that when you go back and you lose every single thing you did. Here they are, and all aligned here. They're like on tongue depressors. And there's lots of stuff on there. You got to search through here. You got a bunch of, look at this. Look at this stuff. It's absolutely amazing. These are Dutch ships. And they got little tiny schooners and stuff. Look at the terrain there. It's like a freaking a tributary there with the mud and it's just incredible. Just absolutely incredible. I don't know if the gameplay's worth a damn, but man, it looks amazing. And they got the water that's all gloss and stuff. Just absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. I don't know if the rules are worth a damn, but really makes me want to play that. Anyhow, some of the best stuff I've ever seen. And it's not necessarily a period that I'm like, all, you know, I would be more interested in 1500 stuff, you know. My people weren't worth a shit by the late 1600s. So I'd rather do Spanish Armada stuff or, you know, Portuguese, things like that. I've seen the League. They like to role play and period costumes as well, play war games. Okay. Yeah, I don't know about you. Lost me on the role play thing. But whoever's painting those figures, they really know what the hell they're doing. Absolutely. But, so about sailing ships, I had a friend of mine who's really into sailing ships. Really into sailing ships. This was probably 1997. So he came up with his own sailing ship game. Hey, we're going to run this game. Everybody bring a ship, and we'll kind of do a test run. So I went and built this bastard right here. This is a 1/1200 scale GHQ 74 gun ship. And you can't tell, maybe, but it's really well painted. Like it's done in the style that I do now. No washes or anything. Everything is hand done. And I did the rigging, which I'd never done the rigging before. And this was an all-nighter. I literally stayed up all night painting this thing. And even has the name of it, the Superb. 74 gun ship of the line. And little flag on there. And we showed up, and it was on a Sunday morning or something like that. I stayed up all Saturday painting this thing. I spent probably 20 hours painting this thing and rigging, and came up with some new curse words and everything with all the rigging that I had to do. And played this game one time and absolutely detested it and never played it again. It's just, every ship is the same, you know. It's all about the crew. There's nothing, you know, even if you do something where you figure ships are real similar, like World War I dreadnoughts, they're not. They're very different from each other. But when you're talking about a sailing ship game, you know, the British look the same as the French, look the same as the Spanish. I don't see much of an incentive in building different ones, you know. You know, they do a load of Renaissance land battles in 28 mil. They look spectacular, yeah. But I'm never playing sailing ship games like that of that period where they were all, it was just boring as hell. Absolutely boring. You know, it had one of those issues where you got a ship here and your arc goes this way. And, you know, at the beginning of the turn, you have an enemy ship there. So he's out of arc. So you plot your move, they plot your move. And they moved over here. And you moved over here. And they're not in your arc again. And you never were able to shoot at it because you couldn't fire in the middle of the turn. So, you know, even though at some point you're going to move like this and be broadside and be able to open fire at each other, it was just kind of, it was just the way DBA is annoying because of the geometry. It's the same nonsense. So like that's just not a viable game. And I played a game. I played an ACW game relatively recent, within the last 5 years, with Mitch at a convention, and we're like, you know, let's play Confederates. I wanted to play Confederates. I could do the silly voices. Much more fun to do Confederate voices. So, you know, we had a couple ironclads that did not have turrets, and the same thing happened. It's like you're out of arc at the beginning of the turn, so then you move, and at the end of the turn, you're also out of arc, and you don't get the fire, and it's just a broken game when you have that, you know. If you're not having fun playing a game, then it's not worth playing. So, but anywho, yeah, lose everybody. It says 0 viewers. Okay. Oh well. But yeah, there's some really talented folks out there, and especially when they do something that's you're just in awe of, and it's a period you're not even interested in. Like, I'm not particularly interested in late 1600s stuff, but there's a couple scenarios in there where they've got the Dutch fighting Chinese pirates and things like that, little junks running around, and that stuff's cool. That's really neat. All right. Let's do this guy's hair and mustache. Yeah, I'm not dressing in period clothes while I'm playing a game. I live in Florida. We don't need to wear wool anything. That's extreme. If you want to do it, well, so be it, but not my cup of tea. So what we're doing? We're doing the blue. We brought the blue out, and then we started talking about League of Augsburg. Oh, no big deal. All of my favorite stuff that I end up seeing on the internet, it's always in the UK. Always. That's where all the most inspirational painters, in my opinion, are from. There's exceptions to the rule, and there's other people as well, but by and large, the stuff that I tend to like the most is from the UK. Okay, now, I'm sure these flesh colors are no good anymore because it's been all morning since I've done it. We're still here. Huh. Maybe the count's just wrong. Okay. Good. Yeah, the most important thing is that people are having fun and they're engaged. You know, you're not engaged. You're just going to walk away, got to do something else. There's nothing worse than just be like, okay, well, it's not my turn yet. Well, I'm going to go grab some coffee. Come back 30 minutes later. It's still not your turn again. Like, that doesn't work. That just doesn't work. Why is that falling over? Why is that thing top heavy? You thought, well, Wi-Fi was playing up. Yeah, I don't know. We're all having a good conversation, and then I'm not sure what happened. Oh well, I'm right here. Whew. Oh. I think on the 26th or something like that is when the preliminary event listing for Historicon finally comes out. So once they've got my games on there, I'll go ahead and post on the sites what exactly we're running, so that you guys that travel to Historicon, you can see. I don't think I'm going to make a video or something like that. If I put too much stuff into it and then things change, I get really pissed off about it. You know, I was really upset the year that the pandemic happened was also the same year that I made videos going over what we were doing at 2 conventions, and I bought our little cart, the little cart there to finally, I've been talking about doing that for so many years to move our stuff in at the convention, and it was the first year that there was no conventions for 2 other years, so I don't want to go through all that effort and have the rug pulled out from under me, and you know, there's undertones of what's the latest and greatest, monkeypox or some shit like that. You know, if they start putting all kinds of restrictions at Historicon, we're just not going to go, you know. So I hope they don't do that. It's still a couple months away, but you know, you never know. We'll plan on going to conventions, but we're going to go on our terms. If not, we'll just stay home and play games like we always do. Okay, we need to do the horse's eyes. These figures are really well detailed. horse mane and tail. Some large clubs in England have large amount of interesting periods. The club I'm at was mostly in the ancients and recently World War II. All we used to do was World War II. That's all we used to do in the late 80s and 90s. That's all we used to do. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but I've got my fill of World War II. I'd rather paint something a little bit. It just becomes that when you're really into a period, it becomes really difficult to learn new stuff frequently. And that's the thing I've actually liked about these ancients is there's a lot of stuff I didn't have a clue about. So I got to kind of learn about it as I was researching what I was painting. And you know, there's a lot of stuff in World War II I don't know, but it's also stuff I'm not interested in. But you know, the basic stuff, you know, the battles, tactics, hardware, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm in all that stuff. It just gets to a point where it's very difficult to understand, to find new reading material because, you know, they have the same stuff like over and over again, or it's at a level that's very strategic, and you know, I don't want to read a book on that kind of stuff. It just doesn't interest me. So, not that it's not important, it just doesn't interest me. I can't be into everything. Know how that saying goes? There's not enough for me to go around. I gotta pick and choose what I'm gonna do. All right, now I gotta find what color brown we used for this guy. I think it was this monster brown. Werewolf fur, monster brown, one of these. I think it was this werewolf fur. Pretty sure. We only need this because we need to mix white into it to make the socks on this horse. And then once we're done with these two horse figures, we'll mount them and grass them up. Because these are the only two of that denomination. Okay. And the hooves. For that one, the color is called Stoner Gray. That's what I've been using. I think it's this one. Nope. This one? Yep. Okay. What brand is the Cuman Horseman? He is a Gladiator Games. It used to be Black Hat Miniatures, and then became Gladiator Games again, and they're being carried by Fighting 15s in the UK. Cubs go through phases. Somebody finds a rule set everyone can enjoy. It takes off for a while, and after a few years, something new will pop up, or somebody will bring something tested. Yeah, I'm always going to play with these figures. We may play different rules or whatever, but I don't see not using these figures. If I'm not using these figures, then I'm just not wargaming anymore. I'm not willing to give up all this countless hours I've spent painting these guys to have fun with them, and then they not get used. You know, I'm not opposed to using from other rule sets, but you know, I have too much investment. So I don't want to play some rule sets where it's like, hey, there's a new codex. It just throw away everything you got in it. No, that's not for me. At some point, I'm going to have to retrofit my 2.2 armies to 3.0. I got about 5 of them I need to do that with. I would just rather build new armies than go back and retrofit an army that I've already have 100 games playing. I'd rather build a new one that I don't have any games playing. Okay. I think that's all she wrote on this dude. One cumin done. In the 80s, you bought the Challenger Modern Rules. I remember that. Came in a little notebook. Green cover, I think. Challenger and Firefly. That was a World War II one. With a 1/300 scale Swedish battalion with S-tanks. That's cool. And a Russian mech infantry regiment. And had fun with it for a few months. Another of the club members did an American army with Abrams and APCs. Yeah, we did modern micro armor, but back in the late 80s, but Gorby messed all that up. We're playing combined arms rule set at that time. Okay. Cumin done. Next dude. Next cumin. That guy had a dark brown horse. Let me give this guy a lighter colored horse. Died after a few years, but occasionally will resurface for a game. I remember all the micro armor stuff we used to play. It wasn't worth a damn because you just didn't have meaningful decisions to make. You know, and that's what makes the game really boring is when there's only one obvious thing to do. It just boils down to just rolling dice then. See if I can get away with doing this. Paint all of it in this color. Marco! Really like the Allies videos. Thanks for that. Would y'all mind sometimes reminding us you do your calculations of the roll numbers which units are up against each other because sometimes I lose track. I try to do that, but man, it's hard trying to herd these cats sometimes. Yeah, I enjoy talking about the stuff before I do it. I think it fills up the time nicely. Instead of just being totally quiet. I don't give a shit if I'm giving away, you know, what I'm doing. I don't really know what I'm going to do until it's time to do it. So, I swear I'm getting to where I'm immune to caffeine. I could drink like the darkest coffee in the world and not feel it. It doesn't wake me up. I'll still sleep. I'll wake up multiple times in the night, but and this will be once we get this guy done, will be the fourth stand in this Byzantine army. New Kingdom Egyptian army with all options. Come along well. Thematic Byzantines next. You gonna make a iconoclast army, or or an iconophile army? I like all the paintings, so. Yeah, the thematic list goes for a long time. A long time. It's the longest period Byzantine one for sure. Because it runs from like, what, 660 to almost 1,000. It's like over 300 years, one army list. There's very little foot troops. Very little foot troops. It's mostly cavalry and light horse. They might have a one deep cavalry stand or something like that. You could do Justinian II with his golden nose. There's some characters in Byzantine history would be an understatement. That would be an understatement right there. There was definitely some guys. I thought you were going to do Belisarius, honestly. You are an iconoclast myself. I listened to a podcast about that. A couple of Byzantine books. Hadn't really come across. I hadn't really wrapped my head around all of it. Of course, it's something I'm not particularly interested in. I'm interested in like military campaigns and stuff like that, not dogma discussions and stuff like that. It wasn't until I finished reading the last book that it kind of wrapped my head around how involved that was with it. I just figured it was just depictions of things, but they were being like revered like gods, and they'd want to kiss them, and it was just kind of a little bit over the top. I had no idea that it was that much. I'm just against them burning all the artwork and stuff like that, so I don't know. 2-6 cab, okay, cool. We did what if scenarios and set games up with 2 boards, and only on your board you could see your deployment, and an umpire would put enemy troops on your board if you got sight of them. Oh, wow. Oh, you're talking about the modern game, probably, yeah. Vice versa, on the board you couldn't give orders or shell or fire on areas without good reasoning. Yeah. That reminds me of that one blind advanced squad leader game that I played many years ago. It was one of the best games I ever played. But you never saw the enemy. They'd either be question marks, or they'd tell you, hey, you're receiving rifle and machine gun fire, or just rifle fire, or what have you, from different hexes, and you had to kind of, you didn't really know what was going on. It was an excellent game, but it takes 2 sets of boards and somebody who just wants to run the game, you know? So I would suspect, and this is just pure guesswork, that if you're going to do an army, if you're doing a Byzantine army, because they have different banners. They have ones with, they have the baby Jesus and Virgin Mary, or, the Holy Family, or just Jesus on them, that kind of stuff. The religious ones, those would be more suited to a period where it was not an iconoclast army, which is most of the time. There's, I think, 2 bouts where it got big, and it came back for kind of a revival. And I would think that if I was going to build, like for instance in the period there of the thematic, I believe both of the bouts are in that period. It's a very long period. It's between, like I said, it's like 660 or something like that, all the way to the Macedonian dynasty. Because then you got the Nicephorus. You got the Nicephorus one. That one's for about 100 years. And then it rolls into the Comnenian, which is another about 100 years. But the thematic period's a really long period of time, and lots of different things happen in there. Lots of colorful folks. Lots of people being blinded and getting nose jobs. Interesting stuff. I'd say they should do movies about it, but they would just ruin them. They would just ruin them, and those of us that are real history buffs, we just want to have a good movie, so it would get more people excited about the stuff that we're in history. People that make movies just want to push an agenda, and I don't really care for people pushing an agenda. Just tell me what you think happened. It doesn't need to, have a moral or, change how feel about it a certain way. Just tell me the story, and I'm a big boy. I can figure it out. But that's like Kingdom of Heaven. Kingdom of Heaven was a waste because if they did a movie about the Crusades, they should do the First Crusade without a doubt. I mean, because the story of the First Crusade is just insane. I mean, it's like you can't write something better than that. It would be hard to. And they went for, they wanted to do something where they could kind of push an agenda or a storyline or a moral thing. You don't have to do morality. I mean, it's just tell us what the story is. It's just insane, the kind of stuff that happened in the First Crusade. And, or you could think, hey, they would have done it and they would have changed the story and would have ruined it all, or, had wrong period stuff. Because First Crusade, they're basically everybody's dressed up like a Norman. All the Crusader Knights are basically all Normans. Nasal helms and so forth. So, crazy stuff. Nose jobs, yeah. Old Justinian II. Yeah, he cut off their nose so you wouldn't be emperor. Well, he taught them a lesson. He came back. Mm-hmm. They did in movies, everyone would have British accents. Yeah, a little too much of that. Am I doing the Varangian Guard? Kind of. Yes, I am. The Constantinian list, the Varangian Guard is built into the command post. So the command post is going to consist of a 40 by 40 stand. It's going to be jam-packed, but that's part of the appeal, and it's going to have the correct look. And I'll show you the guys that we're using here for it. So we've got the Emperor on horseback, and according to Phil Barker, it's purple. It's purple clothed horse. So this is a Lane 2-layer horse from their Carthaginian list, and this is an Old Glory 15 millimeter figure put on there. So that's going to be the main guy right there. That's going to be Romanos IV. And then we've got a gladiator guy holding his standard, and his standard is going to look something like this. Okay, going to have a cross with little bubbles at the end of it, and then little bubbles in the corner. And it's probably going to be dark blue, really, really dark blue with gold, probably. Okay, and then the Varangian Guard, what was surprised to me was they didn't use axes until the Comnenian times. So this is a Emperor with Varangian escort, not that guy. Not this guy either. That's the front guy for the, they look real similar. Okay, so here's the 4 spearmen. So we're up to all these guys on a 40 by 40 stand. And who else do we have on there? I feel like there's somebody else that's on the stand. Maybe I'm incorrect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's more than that on there. There is, oh yes, the guy that blows the horn. He who bloweth. I believe that's what's on the stand. Yeah, so all these guys are going to be on a 40 by 40 stand. So it's going to be jam-packed. But the Emperor's going to be in the middle. The Emperor's going to be in the middle here. And then we're going to have a spearman in each corner. You got the guy that blows, the guy with the standard on there. And it ought to look spectacularly awesome. I have confidence that it will be extremely awesome looking. And then the other stand that's really cool is we've got, these guys are all Lane Tulair. We've got 4 of these spearmen. This is an 8 bow stand. And this is the 4 spearmen that will be on the stand, and then we will have 4 bowmen that will be shooting on the back. And I'm probably going to put the spearmen behind. I'm probably not going to put them in the front. Because when you put them in the front, you look at, first of all, when they shot, these guys would move back to the back anyway. So they, otherwise you'd have to shoot at such a high angle that you don't want to hit your own guys in the head with your arrows. And the other thing is you get the impression that it's a spear stand when you're looking at, and really an 8 bow stand is a bow stand that has spear protection, not the other way around. And it also helps protect the spear, and the figures mesh a little bit better. In other words, you've got these spears that are getting carried at an angle that are within the inside of the perimeter of the stand, so it's easier for them to engage in close combat. So that's also on the stand as well. So the Varangian Guard on the Constantinian list are the armed escorts that will be on the command post. When you start running in the Comnenian list, there is a separate blade stand, and I've got guys for that as well. So yeah, I'm doing both. I'm going to do all the Constantinian list completely, because I think we're going to do some Manzikert type scenarios, some historical stuff, and with these guys, and then we will build the other elements that to morph them into the Comnenian list, because the cavalry for these guys are going to be the same guys that I'm going to use for the Comnenian A and B list. So even though during Manuel's time period the cavalry are more impact, they really don't look any different. They're still going to have lances. They still have almond or teardrop shaped shields. None of that really changes. So just how they're employed differently. I just kind of make that. It doesn't make any. I didn't want to use any guys that that did that. And each one of the cavalry stands is going to have the same shield pattern on all 3 guys, to kind of get them in units. I've kind of decided that's the route I'm going to go with, and I'm not going to use. There's a couple of patterns that I just absolutely dislike, and one of them is that one that looks like a feather. I hate that feather looking symbol. It just looks wrong. I don't care if they used it or not. I just think it looks stupid. Of all the cool Byzantine pattern shields, and there are a ton of them, that's not what I'm going to use. And see if you can find that stupid feather thing here for you. It's on the cover of one of the books here. These guys charging by Giuseppe Rava. You can see a little bit of it here. It's this feather emblem here on the shields. I just detest the way it looks. I think it looks dumb. And here's another one. It looks like a claw with a feather. Not doing that. Not doing that stuff. So somebody else can do that. I just don't like how it looks. The Byzantines have tons of really interesting shield patterns. So Byzantines a cometh. So it's funny because the Comnenian list was used quite a bit at the last convention by people, and they did horrible with it. I don't know why. There's nothing particularly bad about it. It lacks a little heavy infantry, if anything. Other than that, cavalry are just fine. I'd prefer cavalry to knights, honestly. But anyhow, to be continued. I am really excited about doing the Emperor and such, but he's got to wait till last. God, I can't believe I forgot what his name is. Oh, Romanos IV Diogenes. That's who it is. Yeah, Romanos IV Diogenes. Yeah. Even though I really wanted to sit down and paint my Theban army after their showing they had the other day, just stomped people into the ground. That was awesome. I do really well with hoplite armies. For whatever reason, I do really, really well with them. I'm kind of a patient player, so it kind of works for me, you know. Some people just want to go charging in always, and that's doesn't always help, but I know that I was doing hoplite armies. I'd crank up the old Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and even though there's fantasy stuff, there's so much inspiration in that game. I mean, so much inspiration. You know, as far as buildings and the colors that could have been possibly painted, it's really amazing. So. Romanos the Fourth, Diogenes, yeah. He got captured, massacred. He supposedly wasn't that bad of a commander. He got captured at Manzikert for multiple reasons. Biggest reason is one of his guys decided to bail on him, so he took a good portion of the army with him, and he got surrounded by the Turks, got captured. I think the Turks actually treated him okay, ransomed him back or something like that, and then his own people just took it out on him, had him blinded. The blinding went wrong, and he ended up dying from the freaking injuries of that. So that was the dying days of that dynasty before the Comnenians stepped up. But it was interesting reading how there's the different clans, and they couldn't stand each other, and Byzantine clans, the Dukas, and I got to read that again with like a little notebook and write down things and, on pencil, like, okay, let me read more about these guys. It's really fascinating, really, really fascinating. But it's one of those things that, you're already surrounded by so many enemies. You should at least cooperate all on the same team until you stomp all those enemies. Instead of, fighting yourself and the enemy at the same time. You're not really going to get, so yeah. Okay, gotta run. Good to see you too, Marco. Well, good to hear from you. Lots of Greek stuff coming, for sure. Because that's what I consider. I consider the Byzantines Greek. I don't consider them Romans. I don't care what they called themselves, Romanoi or whatever. They're freaking Greek, It's not the poo-poo. I'm just, that's not really what they're. I mean, they even wrote in Greek, spoke Greek, Never seen a command post element in a game. It'll be interesting to observe. Really? You haven't watched my games with the Pope? I got 2 series with the Pope. He's crazy. That guy's out of control. Yeah, you have. You've seen a command post. You saw the at the convention when I was playing the miracles that the Pope performed. That was insane. That should have been. If it was filmed, people wouldn't have believed it. That was so out of control. That's the Pope. He's a command post. Command post, litter, same thing. They behave exactly the same way. It's just a cool way to model kind of like a little mini diorama and then be able to use it in a game. dumbasses next door are still nailing things. Yeah, command post litter is one of those things that initially it seems like it's a really big liability and like useless. But in the right circumstances, that guy's got to be really frustrating to fight. The Pope, yes, the miracle of the Pope. How long have we been on here? An hour and a half? No, almost 2 hours. All right. We're going to try to do another 10 minutes and then we'll sign off until tomorrow morning. We'll pick this back up where we left off.